Hey folks, and welcome to a Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing Ziegfeld Follies, directed by a whole bunch of people that we'll get into later, The Breakfast Club by John Hughes, Magic Mike, directed by Steven Soderbergh, Magic Mike XXL by Gregory Jacobs, and finally newly released Magic Mike's Last Dance, directed by Steven Soderbergh. It's going to be a great show, folks, so stay tuned and enjoy. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing, buddy?
Tommy boy, how's it going?
It's going okay on this end. You had a dance-filled week. You were dancing.
Alternative title
you were dancing.
For this week is How Confident Are You in Your Own Sexuality?
This would have been a great double theater watch, me and you going to the movies together. I couldn't make it Saturday, unfortunately.
Right.
But I love that you did the Magic Mics together. I absolutely love that you did.
I mean, it was a doozy. I
Painful, I'm sure.
Painful in weird ways. Believe me, I was laughing my ass off at the fact that I actually care about good qualities in these films.
Yes.
And I think I texted you right away when I watched the first two. I watched the first two back to back. I was like, it's gonna be a good episode because I actually give a damn about Magic Mike.
I care about Steven Soderbergh as a director.
Sure.
And he did two of them.
Sure.
So we'll get into that later.
Yep.
For right now, we're sticking with Fred Astaire February.
Right.
This is the second last week for Fred?
I think so. Actually, I had some trouble finding a whole slew of movies. So
really? Like we're running out of movies for him? Or you mean like...
More so licensing
capability of watching.
Yeah. Licensing hell.
Okay, so we're going back to 1946. This is the Ziegfeld Follies. Mm-hmm. The reason why I said it's directed by many people is because it is directed and written by many people.
By many people.
And if you could kind of explain how this movie was put together.
Perfect.
I'll make a couple notes first, though,
Sure.
in the beginning. It has kind of a credit of being a year before, 1945. Mm-hmm. It came out in Boston in something like June or July of 45. It didn't become released in the U.S. until summer of 46.
Interesting.
And then... it was sent for the second year in Cannes in 1947.
Oh, wow.
It was submitted into Cannes.
Weird.
Very weird.
Wartime. They cared about other things.
But set this up again. It's the directing and writing credits
it's all over the map.
It is all over the place.
Right.
So why is it set up that way exactly?
So it's an anthology. So it's a collection of vignettes, not short films, but different segments. And unlike maybe some of the anthologies that we've covered, coming to mind, French Dispatch and Animatrix that we've at least covered on the podcast.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Those are done by multiple directors, multiple writers. So a little bit of history here, folks. Ziegfeld Follies was a old Broadway show starting in 1907. 1907. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it really is wild. This Broadway show was a review act, and essentially is a variety show that kind of has come and went as far as a style that we even see in Broadway past the 50s. So this kind of review is meant as a variety show. You experience some comedy, you experience some song and dance, some romance, it's all that. It's a kind of a variety approach to it.
I would say, so are we broken up into sections so clearly where camera fades and we're into part 2 on the screen?
100%.
Oh, okay, all right.
Almost exactly. Think like a musical theater Fantasia, basically.
Okay.
So much so that all these various directors, all these various writers are listed right in front of you with the stars of each of the segments. So this old school Broadway show, I mean really old school, it ran so long that it eventually became a radio show in the 30s. And by 1937, MGM, who held the license at the time, was saying, hey, we got to produce films with this.
Yeah.
So there are 3 movies in total. And while it might sound odd that we're jumping into the last of the 3 in the series, I have to stress that these movies are completely unrelated. They're all just variety acts, and there's no connection to them.
Okay.
Again, think... a Fantasia, any anthology, it's just collection of shorts.
Are we swapping characters, or do we have like Fred Astaire is only in part 2 and we don't see him in 1 and 3?
No, if anything, there's not really characters. If anything, these are highlights of the specific stars. So Fred Astaire is referred to as Fred Astaire in this.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's where this kind of older style review, it was supposed to spotlight a lot of different talent in one spot. Obviously, as audiences at the time, yeah, way before any kind of internet or anything like that.
Right.
This was their chance to see the platform for multiple talents in one spot, basically.
Kind of a cool concept.
Yeah,
for mid-40s.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was watching this and I was like, if I ever was in MGM's office, I might give this an elevator pitch at some point. bring Ziegfeld back.
And the actors, they are grabbing from, because back in the day, especially then, you were really bound to studios. Actors were bound to studios. So MGM just brought their huge talent, right?
Yep.
Huge. Lucille Ball is in this. And I don't know why I'm blanking
Judy
on so
Garland?
many. Yes, Judy Garland, exactly.
Yep.
And
Gene Kelly,
a couple
Fred
others.
Astaire. It's huge. And
it's like... no, I'm not going to make... Sorry.
Go
ahead.
Go.
It's like... Well, I was going to say... I just cut you off to say that. It's like a musical... It's like an old school musical Avengers.
I love that.
That's what it is.
This is Endgame right here.
It is Endgame.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. I think at some point I might have even wanted to make that joke and write it down, but I'm glad you made it. But yeah, this film kicks off in heaven with Ziegfeld himself kind of waxing poetic about the good old days and yearning over what he would do if he could put on just one last show. What type of talent would he bring in? What type of variety show would he put on? And that really starts the variety of acts. And I mean, it includes a lot. It includes stop motion animation, massive dance numbers, musical numbers, an underwater ballet, which was incredible. I officially have a crush from 1945, Esther Williams. She was...
Oh my gosh, she's beautiful.
Yeah, you know Esther Williams. How do you know Esther Williams?
She's better than white about it. She's beautiful.
She was gorgeous. Yeah, like a whole underwater ballet
James
segment.
Cameron Avatar, huh?
I was questioning what's her face for having the record on longest breath held off the Avatar. Because clearly it's going to my girl Esther.
That's ballsy for mid-40s.
Yeah. Sketch comedy, all very distinctly unfunny. I don't think I laughed once. And even full-on opera. So there is a lot of variety here. And with that, I mean, all these segments, you might be wondering, where's our boy Fred? Where's Fred Astaire? And honestly, so was I. It took until even just the very last moments of watching this film to justify me keeping it in this week. So it was an interesting enough time capsule for me to keep it in here. The sad truth is our boy Astaire is only in a fraction of this. And while his segments are wonderful, it's only like 3 out of 10 plus segments. So,
oh wow,
if you're really watching this, as I was honestly, coming for specifically Astaire, you're gonna have to wait until pretty much the entire runtime of this to get his best segments.
Okay, so you're saying 10-ish segments? It's an hour and 50. So these are little vignettes.
Yeah,
these are.
There's a lot. It's rapid fire,
chunks.
Absolutely, especially when. I feel like, especially with the comedy segments, and again, unfortunately, they just don't work. I didn't find a single one very funny. It's all focused a lot around physical comedy and just like making funny faces, Which, hey, that's a lot of comedy. That's Jim Carrey right there.
It's very play-ish too. Because you have to be more expressive on your face because we're following like Broadway stuff too, right?
Absolutely. So I think it's appropriate for the time. I just think, if anything, it feels like the movie knows when something isn't working and they cut it a little bit earlier. I would say, with so many different directors, so many different writers, it's hard to pin down a specific, praise or critique. I will say, and I will note critically, that I feel like this film misses more than it hits. From segment to segment, and again, the comedy sequences, unfortunately, are where I'm pointing to. This, if anything, this highlights that, it's inevitable. I have to watch more comedies. Folks, Tom is in my ear, producer's in my ear, But it's just difficult because obviously, this could have been busting a gut for someone in 45. Bombs just dropped. They need a laugh.
You're getting into the realm of it being so old, like 80 years old, where how do you judge the comedy of that then?
Yeah.
I mean, we judge, like we said, we judge it in the here and now. Yeah. I would love to see if some comedies still hold up for you.
Sure.
Like I always say Blazing Saddles.
Right.
That's like 70s.
Right. This is 45. Wow. So I'm interested. I'm up for the challenge, but it was missing more than it hit, and that's the note there.
Okay, all right.
A through line between them is actually all set design, and I would say that's a through line for praise. Most segments will have some sort of theater-esque look to them, to the stage itself, and I would say the color design is a thread throughout all of these that is very, very good. Backgrounds will have, honestly, wild color schemes that get projected onto heavy, heavy smoke machines that kind of creep across the ground in most scenes.
Okay.
And if anything, it has this kind of pastel color scheme that is, again, there's not much really tying these together at all, just in the sense that it's kind of a meta sketch where these actors are playing actors, and they're very upfront about that. But this color design, I mean, it was right out of like a late 60s production, and I was very impressed. Yeah, it looked really good.
Impressive things about this film, yeah.
I'll wrap up with talking about Fred's numbers, because that's why we're here. 2 are good. 1 isn't so great. We'll start with the rough one. The rough one is a Oriental themed segment, which admittedly gets pretty bold with a dream sequence in it. He's kind of chasing a girl in this rundown town and kind of enters into her dream. It just feels a bit underwhelming at times and definitely slightly racist. So, even by 45, we're already separating from some things like blackface.
Yeah.
However, any kind of Asian depiction, I mean, I would say up until probably mid-50s is still going to be a little dicey, and that unfortunately is highlighted here. Out of the 2 good, though, the first good one sets Fred up as a thief in a ballroom that dances with his target to steal a necklace from. There's no words spoken. It's very, very cool. I was loving it. There's not much tap dance, but the stage itself has a incredible kind of wind-up toy moving floor that is just used to such full effect to take this ballroom dancing and actually make it very exciting. And you can obviously see the movement from these kind of shifting ground beneath them. That's where Astaire's choreography is really shining. It's top notch. The second and the final, I believe it was the final segment of the film, is, because I'm going to get a little bit nerdy here with Fred Astaire, a downright epic tap dancing sequence between, it's Gene Kelly versus Fred Astaire. And that's awesome.
Yeah. This is Endgame. This is Avengers Endgame. These guys.
This is Endgame, absolutely.
Wow.
So, I mean, this segment, so interesting. It's such an interesting point because by 1945 as well, Gene Kelly does not have the majority of what he's known for under his belt.
Oh, this is younger Kelly and older Astaire.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah. So there's this cool torch pass that happens, and obviously that's not affecting my judgment of the film itself so much. But I thought there was, in addition to the whole thing being a very cool time capsule.
Yeah.
I think that was
that's cool Hollywood stuff going on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely.
They're playing to the crowd, really, and in that case, I mean, you're dead on the money. They are playing to the Captain America versus Captain America matchup of Endgame.
I'm trying to make comparisons too, because there's also films today where actors are playing they're actual
Sure.
actors.
Yeah.
Like this is this is the end or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a cool premise. It's just I'm not surprised about the dated aspect of it.
Yeah, exactly.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, and as much as I adore Fred Astaire and his wonderful contributions to the short film segments, again, unfortunately, I think I just was returning to the thought that it really does miss more than it hits. So, was happy to watch it, folks. If this is an interesting time capsule, if that kind of interests you, if any of the Fred Astaire sequences do interest you, give it a watch. I think for the vast majority of people outside of that, outside of those little camps, it's gonna be a pass. Not a bad film by any means, but one that kind of shows its age more than I would have hoped it did. We're gonna go ahead and give Ziegfeld Follies a 59.
59. Okay. Yeah, an okay score, above average for what it's going for.
Exactly.
Interested to just check out this water scene if I can find that just on YouTube or something like that.
Right.
I made a comment last week about Fred Astaire, which is about kind of his early days, mid days, and late days. In mid 40s, he is kind of in his mid to late career almost.
Yeah, he's already complaining about the knees.
Right. But he I have to say, it's not that he himself is getting old. It's just his body and the amount of repetition, that kind of musical comedy genre. But I mean, he lived till 88, and he died in 87.
Yeah.
So this is still he was alive for another 40 years.
Sure.
But it's just as far as him as an actor being what we know Fred Astaire to do.
Yep.
This is kind of his mid to late career already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head as far as the stylings of musical comedy is definitely, it is old hat at the point of even 45.
Yeah, yeah.
And we get plenty, we covered a lot from the 50s with Fred Astaire.
Like you said, he takes that gap there too.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's interesting, but definitely don't regret watching this one. Honestly, just underwhelming for other reasons besides Fred Astaire.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So with that was 45 or kind of 46.
Right.
But we're going to jump 40 years in advance. This is our John Hughes kind of study that we're doing. Yeah. John Hughes, again,
prolific
80s and early 90s writer / director as well in the 80s.
Yep.
But this guy is writing hit after hit after hit.
Mm-hmm.
We went through it a lot last week. We did not 16 Candles last week.
16,
okay. So we did 16 Candles last week. And now we're moving on to his second film that we want to cover, which is The Breakfast Club. Very recognizable. It's this film where you say, why is Emilio Estevez popular? Or why is he a name that people kind of know? Or these brothers with the Sheen, Charlie Sheen and everything. It's just like, oh, no, he's the kid on The Breakfast Club. And it's like, oh, okay, all right, that's why we know him.
Yeah.
Because he's in almost nothing else. Mighty Ducks, but anyway.
You gotta make the shout out for Mighty Ducks.
John Hughes is writing and directing here. This is rated R. This is The Breakfast Club. And how did returning to this kind of go? Was this your first time watching it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Definitely probably first time all the way through.
Yeah, it might have been a TV watch or something.
Exactly. Definitely, with continuing the Hughes study, we're crossing paths with the iconic once again to see how it stands up. I'll say right away that this has none of the issues that I had with 16 Candles. Despite a lot of praise, 16 Candles was dated in a lot of ways and had some, problems with music that I'll always bring up. But instead, this film takes a much more dramatic spin. And with that, I think it has new issues that I was not really expecting. For our setup, one cloudy Saturday is cursed by 8 hours of detention. 8 hours. That's a lot.
I never went to detention.
Oh, goody.
My shoes are clean over here.
That's why it's Tommy Two Shoes. Spends all Saturday polishing them up. Yeah. 5 high schoolers from different walks of life have to endure this 8 hours together, this grueling 8 hours. And really, the best Breakfast Club is about breaking down labels and seeing people how they really are. For these high schoolers, being in the same detention means that they have a common enemy in adults, but maybe those adults are also the reason for how they see each other as different in the first place. And that really is the heart of The Breakfast Club. It's about breaking down those labels and creating a vulnerability through these high schoolers. I'll say this much. This gets a lot of bonus points for originality. The story structure here within this detention period is much more unique than, I would say, most 80s teen comedies. Maybe in all time of teen comedies. For instance, in our 16 Candles review, there were countless comparisons in Hughes' style and story structure from later films.
Yeah.
The big one that I kept on harping on was Superbad. I mean, 16 Candles is basically, Superbad, or rather vice versa. It's not at all the case here, and I would say that's great to come across in modern day, to experience something so unique, so in its own style. And again,
for the time, or even today.
Even today. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like Breakfast Club, honestly.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
I know that.
Maybe like a B movie, but
Right.
certainly not a main release.
Interesting, because I know that because it's dealing with the different stereotypes of the kids, but is it more so that because we're kind of stuck, we're in detention? Is it because we're really boiled down as the essence of who these characters are and breaking down barriers? And such,
I think it's the fun high school detention structure, the skeleton to the story. On top of that, as well, is that the objective, the focus, the target of the film is this dramatic spin, which I think that's where it's going to separate itself from maybe someone just doing the 8 hours detention as a comedy or something like that. So this is really a drama, honestly.
Right.
More than anything.
Okay.
And that's a perfect bridge into, honestly, what I was surprised at was this dramatic spin. I really didn't expect it at all. There is a lot of comedy here, especially with the teacher character, but all the big moments were spotlighting trauma in some way. Sadly, it spotlights my biggest issue with the film, which is performance. We got some kid actors here. I
wasn't even on my radar. Because people say how much they love this film.
Right,
yeah.
right. And I think the writing, when it's at its most emotional, most real moments. I mean, Hughes is really creating real scenarios for teens at the time, but also, again, in this kind of message that adults are the reason maybe why we see each other in different camps, and not just as kids, not just as fellow teenagers. That is, honestly, top-notch writing. I just don't think these actors can keep up with it. You mentioned Estevez already. Emilio's not doing great. Judd Nelson, though, is who I'm taking my knives out with. He's, I believe, the oldest of the group. I believe 25. We go from like 16-year-olds to 25.
Okay.
In the range of these of these actors.
What stereotype is he?
He is the criminal kind of
bad boy
misfit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Just by far the worst offender of it, considering he just dominates like the first 45 minutes. It's like no one is even speaking. And obviously he's the first tip into them maybe breaking down some of those barriers, but I was just flat out annoyed with the acting.
Really?
Yeah. Even other favorites like Molly Ringwald, they can't seem to dive deep into the emotions that these characters and, most importantly, the script needs. This is a classic case where I think iconic doesn't equate to or equal to the quality.
Yeah. Everyone knows a name, but
yeah.
Should they? Is it really deserving?
Exactly. And something I was scratching my head over is like, where all these actors and actresses go? They're all like working actors, but they never get another big performance outside of this stretch of the John Hughes films. Also, going back to the 80s, I mean, it could be a variety of things. They couldn't, it could be that they didn't play ball with a certain producer or something. It could be anything. Yeah. But I was definitely seeing some of the dots that dramatically, I don't think these kid actors are just there yet, and that's fine. That's as we always say, that's the essential problem with kid actors.
Yeah, and they are older. I mean, we're not dealing with like 8-year-olds or 10-year-olds, which is really who we like to usually dig into.
And who we like to beat up.
Because I think they're playing, like you said, they're playing 14 to 16 or 14 to 18. Right?
Yeah, they are playing right into their demographic.
Sure. So. I don't know. I would expect a little bit more, maybe. Yeah. Again, it just surprises me because everyone knows the movie.
Yeah.
That's all.
Exactly.
And it's all about the kids' performance.
And I'll say this much. I mean, it is, if this is supposed to kind of tell a deep message to land with no one but teens, and maybe change some of their thinking, I mean, having actual teens play it, I think that's good. I just think watching this film critically, it just wasn't doing it for me. So I would say also this film is seriously backloaded. The first hour and 15 has so little going on. Bore yourself to tears. And then it's only when these kids' barriers break down that the film gets really good, and That's where you see all the iconic scenes, them dancing around the library, them running around the halls, them smoking a joint in the library. That's where it all is. So, but like I said in the beginning, what role does iconic play?
Yeah.
Do these shoddy kid performances get a pass? And does the feel and the legacy of the film transcend all this? I'm honestly not sure, and it's why I'm a little torn on this one. But by all means, this is a much more mature story and a better concept than his previous film. I personally can't help but feel disconnected from the message of the film, despite it ringing so true to the teenage experience. We're going to go ahead and give The Breakfast Club a 62.
Wow, I'm kind of surprised that even made it in the 60s.
Really?
Yeah. Well, performances are that bad. I mean, almost everyone.
Maybe I oversold it a little bit, but yeah. I mean, 62 I think is a good balance, personally.
Okay.
I mean, what did Coda get? I don't know why that was on top of my mind when I was watching this too.
I might have gotten the 40s. I don't know. Maybe low 50s.
Yeah.
But interesting. Okay, 62 for The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that. I don't really know. I didn't have an idea what you were going to rate it. I was definitely curious of it because, again, we all know the name.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I always go back to Emilio Estevez because it is just like, why do people know the name? What is he? It's like, Breakfast Club kid. Okay, gotcha. But, okay, all right. So 62 for The Breakfast Club.
Yeah. I certainly wasn't reflecting throughout the week. I wasn't reflecting as positively on this one. Like with 16 Candles, I was kind of thinking back very fondly to a lot of setup of it.
That's right.
So
yeah, maybe not big returnability to this. I'm surprised there was enough there that you did enjoy to bring it up to a 62. But regardless, okay, so we're going to jump ahead here. We're going to start.
Here we go.
We're going to start our.
Here we go.
We're going to start the trilogy. This is 2000. This is 2012. This is Magic Mike. It's an hour and 50. It's rated R. It's a director that we both kind of like, Steven Soderbergh.
He's directing one for the ladies.
He is. And so, Vin, how did we like Magic Mike? Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's buckle up, everybody.
This is strap yourselves in. Throw on your favorite thong. Rip off your favorite assless chaps. and let's talk about Magic Mike. Tom, if there was anything keeping me interested, is that I really do love Soderbergh as a director. Maybe not love, but he's someone I pay attention to.
Just thinking the same thing. It seems like he never quite gets there to the top ranks.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that he comes out with that we really quite like.
And a lot of variety, too. Like, he's not afraid to tackle so many different genres, and I think, if anything, Magic Mike 1 is a perfect example of that.
It's interesting that you say that, because when I think of Soderbergh, I think of him going down one route, which is ensemble casts.
Oh, true. Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, you look at the Ocean's movies, and then he did...
Logan Lucky?
Yeah, that's right. Did he? Yeah, he did Lucky Logan, Logan Lucky, whatever.
Crazy that we saw that.
And then he did the HBO Max one that we covered, which was something about what is
no
it?
Sudden Moves.
No Sudden Moves. But generally saying, we like Soderbergh.
Yes,
we're not in love with him or have the craziest highest respect.
Yeah.
But we join him on screen. He usually makes pretty fun movies also.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my kind of skin in the game prior to watching these movies this week. And boy, is there a curveball here, because God damn it, how is Magic Mike 1 a good movie? I was so goddamn angry.
You liked it?
It's a good movie.
Really?
It's actually a good movie.
Okay. All right.
Now, I can't say the same for the sequels, but I mean, seriously, I'll get into what I think. I can boil all these films down.
I'm shocked.
He's shocked.
He's literally buckle up. Vin's about to tell us, folks.
Yeah, why
Magic Mike is better than The Breakfast Club. Gather round. Okay, get into it.
The whole family. Magic Mike is a male stripper played by Channing Tatum. And I would say right off the bat, 100% is the role that will define his career. I'm happy to say Channing is great in this. He has almost limitless charisma on screen. He literally charms the pants off of everyone. And I mean, I really mean literally. We follow him bringing in a young buck to the stripper biz, and we see how the glamour quickly washes away like baby oil after a night's of hard work. Let's get some bad out of the way. Did you watch this one, Tom?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Well,
if there was one, I needed.
I know. Well, I was going to watch. I suggested a different theme for the week. And I said I would have watched all 5 had we done it.
No, you get out of here.
Remember when I texted you?
Yeah, you wanted.
I wanted
the two Sex in the City movies added to the match. I said, I don't know what I said.
And I said, if you do it, I'll do it.
Right.
We'll get our Cosmos, right? And we'll sit down and we'll gush. No, unfortunately, I really wanted to. I like I said, actually, I was going to watch the one last week. I was working on Sunday. I wanted to come home. I watched something easy.
A likely excuse.
It was going to be Magic Mike, and I ended up just watching Deliverance.
Oh, that's right. The ultimate unwinding movie, Deliverance.
Anyway, no, apologies for not watching it.
No sweat. I would say more so just really for this one note, because am I going crazy? This film is so yellow. The color correction is to piss yellow. It's crazy.
Very interesting.
It's insane. Like, it is outright yellow. There are certain scenes, specifically any beach scene, that you can barely even see the water on the coastline because this film is so yellow. I have no idea.
I like that's how, if you ask me if I watch it, because I would have been all over that.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I would have been texting you.
Exactly. Why is this? Is there something wrong with the TV? It's wild.
Huh.
Another negative on this one is that the licensed soundtrack, believe it or not, for a stripping movie is kind of bad. There are some unique picks, but most are really rough, and it feels like they were almost cutting corners on budget with this. It's just not what you hear in a club. That's kind of the test for me.
Okay.
It's not what you hear in a club, stripping or otherwise. And this is actually a critique that I share with the third film, which, of course, Soderbergh returns for.
Yeah,
so I don't know if his team, his music department, if he's choosing the music, I don't know.
Well, what's funny is, I mean, a lot of his time, I like the movie. Well, I mean, the Ocean's trilogies. Right. I love the music, and they get better as you go.
Exactly.
I love that soundtrack.
He
Ocean's
tunes
13.
in the style more and more.
Yeah, really interesting, because I could usually would see him as such a more creative guy.
Yeah. So it's odd because it was also odd as a problem that I identified with 1 and 3, not 2, which doesn't show Soderbergh.
Yeah, it doesn't bode well.
he's getting the blame for that one. So, but the rest, folks, to my absolute shock, is actually pretty good. It is a drama about male strippers and exploitation. It's 50% a stripper party movie, 50% a stripper redemption story. Matthew McConaughey, absolutely phenomenal. He is a huge reason why I like this film so much. He's basically riffing on his Wolf of Wall Street character, and it is so great. He is okay. Yeah, he's this antagonist. He's absolutely the bad guy here, and it's also the closest thing that we get to, I don't know, like a real asshole in the film. All of these strippers are super charismatic. They are kind of not con men, but they work crowd clubs ahead of the show to get people to go, kind of free vouchers kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that because it's all about just the tips, when they're on stage. So, I mean, McConaughey in any kind of villainous role, I mean, he is so manipulative, such a good villain role for him. I mean, it was really a joy every second he was on screen. I mean, I went out of my way to watch Dark Tower just because McConaughey was in a villain role.
Wow.
And I should have watched Magic Mike.
That's really good.
Let that sit for it. Also, thongs aside, the character Mike is actually pretty great. It's crazy. He's got all the wit of like this master con man, but they characterize him as such a great moral dude. Like he's an upstanding guy. He's like the best big brother you could ever ask for. He just charms the shit out of everyone on
Channing
screen.
Tatum can be pretty good.
Yeah.
He can be pretty good at acting.
And Magic Mike 1 is absolutely where that shines.
Standout.
Yeah, absolutely where it shines. I think the most important note here is that the film understands that this is Channing's strength on screen. He is just as equally a powerhouse in this film verbally as it is the stripping, dancing, physicality of it. And that's something to put an important pin in because, boy, will that be a factor that we come back to for both of the sequels.
Okay.
That they lose what worked best. And I'm not even saying, obviously, obviously I'm not the demographic here. I mean, I'm sure people say that Channing's physicality and his stripping is the best part of the film. I'm telling you, his charisma, that is what sells the character. And they forget
I can totally believe that.
Yeah.
I can totally believe that.
Yeah. I've said it before, and I'll say it again here. Physically, the actual stripping is good acting. Flashback to our Showgirls review, and you're going to see that the stripping in these films are essentially your action sequences, and that physicality is acting. No less good acting.
Okay.
Showgirls was a real bad movie, so luckily that's not the only thing good here. It's really important to, regardless of how you're seeing the sexuality of the scene, if it turns you off, if it turns you on, this type of acting, I mean, it deserves praise. The physicality, I mean, he worked.
It is a lot.
They work their asses off. Just
Yes.
how, as terribly bad Showgirls was, she was, I forget the actress. She was dancing her ass off on stage.
And not only that, getting your body into peak physical condition.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not. I would never ever say about this movie, it's a breezy, easy check to go pick up. I mean, there's no from the get go. I knew you got to work. I mean, and everyone was talking about, especially at the time it comes out, how good the dancing is, the lessons, blah blah blah. It is a thing. Yeah. So I mean, total props where props are due.
Absolutely,
no doubt.
Yeah. In this film, stripping sequences are constantly peppered throughout the runtime. Like I said, 50% of it is fun stripper party time. It just really shows that there is a job for these characters. There are more group scenes which have much more choreography than something that you would see like in Showgirls. And that's something that will be only amped up in the sequels. So for all the fellas listening, thinking, no way in hell, the dance scenes are filled with the joy of 100 women screaming. Like, it's kind of great for a lot of reasons.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot to these scenes besides just the sexuality of it. And that's where I'm putting a lot of praise towards this. So, Tom, I don't want to compare too much, but...
Oh, boy.
It's basically just Boogie Nights again. It's a poor man's Boogie Nights.
Industry stuff.
Absolutely. Industry stuff, but
Rise,
specifically
fall,
around
comeback.
Exploitation. You know what I mean? It's
okay.
specifically when the club is shut down, what baggage do they bring into real life by having this role? And that, in a different way, Boogie Nights, it was good for Babylon for in its kind of its arc. This one more specifically, it's a poor man's Boogie Nights because it's trying to tell this story of, well, you're going to have some baggage with this exploitation of your body. In no way does it reach the peak of what that movie achieves, but in the same scope, it shows how dirty the business can really be once you step into the real world. And the most important note I need to make is that you don't see Boogie Nights becoming a franchise. We're going to go ahead and give Magic Mike
Here we go.
a 71.
Hey!
I'm telling you,
Woo!
it was a solid movie.
I'm comfortable with saying Soderbergh really lives in the 70s for us.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
70s is, we're not your average dad's 70s here.
We will definitely see where he lives for the third. We will know the exact address.
By the way, very difficult to find the music credits for this.
Yeah.
I don't know where the decision music came from.
And primarily all licensed music as well, because again, it's all in the club.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I know who the boom operator is.
Yeah.
I don't know when it actually came to music decisions here. Very difficult to find, honestly, online.
Yeah.
So a bit of a toss-up, and I don't know if it's really up to Soderbergh or not.
Sure. Right. It's just that my observation is it kind of followed him. The critique followed him when he returned to the franchise.
Okay, so that was 2012. Boy, 71 for Magic Mike.
Let me tell you, it's a good movie. I believe me, I wanted nothing more to shit on all of these three movies.
I don't doubt it. I have no doubt if I were to watch this, I would be having a smile on my face because it's just hilarious. You're in it.
I said, God damn it, why is this movie as good as it is?
Our main lead here is Olivia Munn as well. Was she all right? I mean, we love Olivia Munn. Okay, maybe not.
I don't know about love.
Okay.
You see her nude?
No comment. Oh, okay. Very good.
Very good. Very good.
All right, so that was 2012. This 3 years later. This is Magic Mike XXL. The director here is Gregory Jacobs, who's way more less known than Steven Soderbergh. I mean, even like he just did Dog.
Oh,
with what's his face with Channing Tatum.
So maybe he's tied to Channing.
He didn't come from much though before this. Steven Soderbergh is a cinematographer. And apparently the film editor, but they did that thing where he took a pseudonym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so cinematographer was Steven Soderbergh, but he went as Peter Andrews.
Wow.
And then he went as Mary Ann Bernard in film editing.
Okay.
Sometimes that happes. Sometimes people do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
But anyway, we have kind of a no-name director here coming back 3 years later for Magic Mike XXL. Returning characters. What do we have here? What's the setup for the film?
Such a bad title. Such a trash movie.
Okay.
Wow. Tom, I would say this is a severe, acute case of sequelitis. There is zero need for the story to continue. And if anything, it robs the first Magic Mike of what made it a good movie and completely throws out his ending as a character. Let's lower expectations drastically here, folks. Less Poor Man's Boogie Nights, more so Stripper Hangover Part 2. That's
okay. Different twist.
Yeah, a little bit different. So, it also tries to make it seem like the supporting cast of the last film, the fellow strippers, was the main cast. And I'm sorry, not a single actor showing up for the returning crew would even be in the top 5 of the last film.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, granted, they earned their keep. This is much more a straight comedy, a raunchy comedy, if you will. Mm-hmm. I will say the bonding with the bros, it does pay off in an ending sequence being a crazy 20-minute uncut live sequence at the stripper convention. And I would say it's pretty impressive. It is also a clear example of razzle dazzle that you forget how trash the movie was leading up to it because it's such a bombastic ending to the film. So, but it shows the priority the film has. It's no longer about Mike. It's no longer about characters. No longer about the biz. It's about showing off some mom porn, showing off some stripping of some boys. So, for the story, I would say it is a meteoric drop into the dumpster fire. It's kind of just a comedy road trip with the bros to the big stripper convention. That's basically Magic Mike XXL in an elevator pitch. Let's get the bros to the big stripper convention. And don't get me wrong, it's kind of funny in a lot of spots.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty dumb in a humorous way.
Yeah. There's a gas station dance scene where one of them tries to seduce like this random gas station clerk. There's also a house mom dance scene, which is pretty funny. But honestly, this movie does everything worse. Character goals, strippers with heart as kind of a theme, even the meet cute romance, all drastically worse. Yeah. The only aspect that I think is better is the dancing and the stripping, and I'll circle back to that for now because again, it's all leading up to that 20 minutes of just like uncut. It's like I don't even know how many people in the crowd. How they filmed it was again
impressive.
Very regrettably, I say impressive. But it's everything else is a step backwards. Let's get into some real bad moments. Jada Pinkett Smith is terrible in this.
No shock.
A real snoozer of a performance, and she for some reason she's just given a huge role in this. Like, why? She's introduced as a surprise as well, and it just was a total disappointment for me. Like it was like, guess who Magic Mike's calling? They're in a pinch, and it was Jada. Nope. And then Amber Heard is in this as well, and I was just cracking up. I was just like, this movie has all the worst women in Hollywood. Like it's just terrible. It's god awful. For real though, Amber Heard has zero reason to be in this film, and honestly, it's laughable that she got paid for this.
Okay.
You know, I'm laughable, and I mean like 100%. all that comes with her in the news, Johnny
Right,
Depp,
right.
all that aside, it is laughable she got paid for this role. She could have been CGI edited in, or literally anyone. Unfortunately, Mike's character has been stripped of any cool factor, any expertise that made him great in the first film. There's no charm. There's no older brother, cool factor. There's nothing.
He's dumb jock? Dumb jock? now?
Not even. He's like, because there's a new stripping circuit, Mike is constantly a fish out of water and is robbed of those moments where he charms you to death. And that's where I put a pin in, talking about what Channing is bringing to this role. It's more than just the physicality. He's selling Mike as a character we, even relatively give a damn about. Man, it's just so bad. He's just awkward and mild, and yeah, it's just very disappointing. There's also guest stars galore. The film functions more as a platform for actors to pop in for a sexy cameo. Of course, Jada. We have Childish Gambino, and also Michael Strahan. I saw they slip him in. They slip him in. It was surprising. Worst of all, these guest spots take away the story from Mike. The story is called Magic Mike, and straight up these movies for making me care about Magic Mike's character development. Like, absolutely screw these movies for making me actually give a damn about Mike, the character. Like, they completely, absolutely threw everything that the first film built, what it worked, why he worked on screen, and they threw it in the dumpster. It's crazy.
Not surprised. Are you surprised?
That's when I texted you too, because it was I'm making notes about how Magic Mike's character is gone. And it's clearly not what these movies are about.
But where's the shock? Where's the surprise? Why are you surprised by this?
Because they had it right once. They had it right once.
Yes.
Unreal.
Okay.
Unreal. Let's talk about some of the dancing. I have to be straight up here. Channing is killing it. About an hour in, he does a dance for Jada's club, and I would say the shit's impressive. Like, watch a girl, Channing's gonna steal your girl. like he is dancing his ass off, and again hits on that same factor that like I cannot rob him as an actor of praise.
Absolutely not.
I can't do that shit.
No,
and not only that, I don't think 99% of actors in Hollywood could do this.
It's very impressive. Yeah, it's very impressive.
Right. Tom, I kid you not as well. There is a Fred Astaire style dance sequence in this movie. I kid you. Look at me in the eyes right now. I kid you.
I can't. No. I can't. What do you mean? So like a nice calm?
No.
Yeah.
Where he uses the
surroundings.
Exact.
Yes.
Bingo.
Okay.
It's
not just a chair in the middle of the floor.
Right. He's in a workshop, and this is the Genuine Pony song that plays over it.
Yes.
And if there's gonna be an iconic scene, it's this one. But I'm telling you, if there is anyone qualified to make this statement, it is Vincent Daly.
Yes, absolutely. You're given all rights. You're given all rights.
Right. I don't think there's a single soul alive that can make this connection, but I am telling you, 100.
I want to hear from some people.
Right, the Fred Astaire expert.
You're saying that you're the official Fred Astaire expert. Okay.
Fred Astaire, I'm telling you, it is a sequence right out of like the Royal Wedding or something like that, where he's using all the different things in the dance. I'm telling you.
Wow, you were smitten. You were swept off your feet by Channing Tatum.
I will put 100% of the money on it, on that comparison. I swear to God. But folks, I would say, compare the first 30 minutes of both of these films side to side, and you will understand how just truly terrible of a sequel this is. If you are curious about the film, literally just watch the last 20 minutes performance. That's it. Because that's where you're going to get all the best character moments, all the dancing, and again, a very ambitious uncut sequence going from dance to dance to dance in the stripper convention. It's unreal. But hold on to your tearaway pants because we have one more movie to stumble through. For now, we're going to go ahead and give Magic Mike XXL a 26.
Oh, wow. Really bad.
It's a real bad movie.
Really bad.
Yeah, it's a real bad movie.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, same director and the writer as well. It's same ones that did Dog. They did like White House.
What?
They did like White House Down or something like that.
Interesting. Dog was another one. We
came and
we
went.
had the podcast. I don't know why we didn't cover Dog.
We know exactly why we didn't cover Dog.
Right.
No one cares.
Right.
No one ever brought it up once. But okay,
Dog.
a big old drop off here. Okay, big old drop off. This is our newly released. Oh, how about this? Okay, folks, value for value model.
He's flustered. He's flustered.
Listen, we're no different than a bunch of strippers trying to get some dollar bills on the old jockstrap. I don't even know.
The old G-string.
Listen, are you finding the podcast valuable? Are you enjoying yourself here? If you can, you go to thedailyratings.com and you tell us what kind of value that you're getting from us and give us some value back through monetary support. It's thedailyratings.com, and like I said, go to the donations tab. You go under the comment section, go ahead and write a note in. We're going to read it here, and it is a through line to you. Let us know what's on your mind, question, comments, critiques, whatever. Doesn't really matter.
Sure.
When you donate, of course, you become a producer of the Daily Ratings, and as we build producerships around here, as more and more people become producers, we can't thank you enough. It's going to help keep this thing going. And again, it's dailyratings.com. Head to the donations tab. Thank you so much. Okay, now, this is our newly released Magic Mike's Last Dance. Okay, like we said, Soderbergh is back.
Back in the saddle, or should I say back in the assless chaps.
Nice. How do we return to this intellectual property? What do we close out with Magic Mike? I don't know. He's airborne now, right? He's worldwide.
He's worldwide. He's jet set. Global Mike. Tom, I seriously thought, how could it get any worse? How could it get any worse? It is, how could it? Let me tell you, this film dials back the raunchy sex appeal of the second, and in the process, honestly, loses everything. It loses the fun of the second film, as asinine, as ludicrous as the story setup is. Again, road trip to the stripper convention.
Right.
It's not trying to tell a story. It loses the raunchiness that was the last remnant of the second film and now has nothing.
There's
nothing going on.
Reason to return to it,
no.
Story-wise. So this really is the thing of, Mike, let's put Mike here.
Yeah.
Let's put Mike there.
Yeah.
This is very much like Die Hard. Die Hard here. Die Hard there.
Oh, good cat.
It's just like, where are we going to place Magic Mike in the world?
Right.
Okay, so where are we now? We're in London?
The setup is just as forced as the last one. Magic Mike gets a sugar mama cougar and is taken to London to develop his own strip show. One twist, and again, will be added to just like why this film is so joyless, is that he's done with dancing and pouts around near constantly about how everyone wants him to strip and how he doesn't want to strip, and it's what everyone came here to see him do.
Oh, so he's past he's done.
Right.
He's trying to hang up the chaps. He's trying to hang the chaps up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's real annoying because once again, the character isn't having fun. In Magic Mike 1, the character's having fun.
Having a blast. Yeah.
That is sold through his energy. That is sold through his charisma. Working with other characters. That's definitely there. If anything, fun is the only word for XXL. Here, there's no fun. And that's what I mean by, like, it loses the only thing the sequel had going for it.
Yes.
And now is where does it sit? You know what I mean? I feel like it is a complete trash movie.
Wow. So before he was like the Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapons, and now he's more a Danny Glover. I'm getting too old for this shit.
Your comparison game is wild. I like you were stabbing in a lot of directions.
We have.
I like it though. I like it.
Does he pick up the chaps for one more time? And he's just like, all right, one last time or something like that.
Yeah, basically. That's basically it. There is more of a rom-com to this than ever before, but emphasis on the romance. It's a bit sadder. It's a bit slower, but one thing is clear. It is yet another massive turn in genre and style. Still very much a comedy in a lot of ways, but the film is pigeonholed by aspects of other films that flat out don't work. This film includes odd things like a semi-serious, like pretentious narration from a little girl character that this little girl character will eventually cross paths with the story about stripping. So it's just like, no, remove the little girl. Someone else can make the narration. Give it to Mike. Mike's not acting enough. Like, give it to Channing. It's unreal. And Salma Hayek it just has more character development, more character focus than Mike ever had in the last two movies.
Okay.
Once again, sidelining him in his own film. I mean, I didn't expect to make two Marvel comparisons in one thing, but I mean, these last two movies, they have the same problem that Marvel has, that they sideline who is in the name of the title.
So we're Salma heavy.
Yeah. Oh, it's her film, basically.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We basically go from Poor Man's Boogie Nights to Stripper Hangover Part 2.
Yep.
And now we go to a gender-swapped Pretty Woman because Salma Hayek is very rich. Obviously, Magic Mike is the stripper, is the working, working professional, and he's kind of whisked away into this sugar mama cougar scenario that, again, feels very like Pretty Woman, or gender swapped at least. Let's talk about Hayek.
Okay.
Oh, because it's bad. Folks, if you took a look at the trailer and thought Salma Hayek was actually dancing with Mike on stage at some point in this, I don't know if there was a different trailer. Sometimes different trailers have different cuts. Salma Hayek does not dance in this. So, I feel like a lot of the marketing of this film was like, oh, well, bring your boyfriend for Valentine's Day. You're not only getting Mike, you're getting Selma. You know what I mean?
There's like a B cut or something that was on the editing floor or something. Yeah.
And she does not dance. She is the worst part about this film. I mean, she is the poison pill for this film. It is worse than Tom Hanks in Elvis. That is how bad she is in this.
Her acting?
Oh, everything.
Emotions.
Her impact, how she derails scenes, how there is no charismatic volley between Channing Tatum and her.
Oh, okay, all
like,
right.
Tatum cannot...
No chemistry there.
Yeah, there's no chemistry, but there's also no comedic back and forth. Mike can't be playful because she's like this,
It's like a brick wall.
Yeah. Yeah. It's terrible. She's flat out terrible. That's the note. She's flat out terrible in this. And again, I think primarily it's because she just lacks this volley with Channing Tatum as a love interest. And if there's anything that you need in a rom-com, you need to kind of have that electricity. You need to have some playfulness.
You got to make it work. Yep.
Yeah, there's no flirtiness with it. So her character is going through kind of a personal crisis, and upon receiving one lap dance from Mike, she flips her entire life upside. She moves him to London. She's giving him a show. One lap dance was that good. She turns her whole life upside down. The writing of this character this way, it spotlights how it's directly about her, though. And that's where it's not about Mike anymore. I mean, critically, it's not about Mike anymore. Magic Mike is more exploited than ever as her personal prostitute. And again, that just spits so much in the face of what the first one was going for. And again, screw these movies for making me care about Magic Mike's character arc. Like, oh my God. The fact that I'm put in this position is outrageous. Seriously, she has more of a dominant role than Mike himself, and her contribution to scenes are always just hijacking any and all fun to insert her menopausal panic acting that comes off more exhausting than entertaining. I mean, seriously, it is one of the worst roles she has ever been with. I was annoyed anytime words came out of her mouth.
We just saw her in Puss in Boots.
Drastically different.
Yeah. What's funny is Kitty Softpaws could easily be her stripper name.
That's good. That's quick. Kitty Softpaws. I wish she got on stage. I wish. Making things worse, Channing has lost even more charm as Mike the character. From slickest man around, he is more bashful and out of his element than ever because guess what? Who is he following these jokes, these kind of slick street stripper kind of, punchlines? Guess what? It's being matched up with uptight British people. And it's like,
interesting.
It just
That's true.
fails.
The fact that we're in London now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's like cute comedically, just like, oh look, they don't get him. It's so you can feel the jokes fail as they are coming out of his mouth because there's just no one to kick it back.
Right,
There's
right.
no one to riff with, and again, just total opposite of what the first film was. This film series officially is in the same boat as Fantastic Beasts, in that none of the sequels understand jack about what worked in the first one. I am officially dubbing a new syndrome, Tom, for the podcast. It'll be known as Magic Mike Syndrome, trilogies that should have never been trilogies.
I love it.
You like that?
I absolutely love that.
Maybe that's a compilation. Maybe that's something.
What's it called?
The Magic Mike Syndrome.
Okay, that's fine.
We got Suicide Squad Syndrome. We got Magic Mike Syndrome.
And a lot more. I'm sure
there's
they come and go.
Yeah, right. But specifically trilogies that should have never been trilogies. It should have never been trilogy. Seriously.
No, it did. The first one did surprisingly well in theaters. That's why.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's just keep it going.
Yeah. It's crazy. But what a lifeless film. Everything outside of the dancing is so awkward and clumsy. And both the romance and the comedy really fails to illustrate this, of how this is worse than even 2. The stripping is seriously tame. I mean, you could take your grandma to see this shit. No joke.
Right.
All the sex appeal is lost when Mike casts exclusively street performers as his dancer for the show. So that even though that there's this kind of similar but not as good 20 last minute razzle dazzle take, it is so mild it barely dazzles. You know,
Right,
it's missing again the fun, the sex appeal of 2 that was all of 2. So stripping that, what does this film have left? Like, why are we watching this film? It's all more interpretive dance and street dance than stripping. And Tom, to quote White Christmas, they're not stripping anymore. They're doing choreography.
That's not the quote.
You know what that is?
It's not the quote.
They're not stripping anymore. I know they're not doing
No, I like it. It's just not the quote. Is that how you actually thought the song went?
No, of course it's not
okay,
talking about
right.
stripping.
Okay. You see how seriously I take the movie. What are you talking about?
Right.
Sorry, very good joke. That's what I meant to say.
I
meant to say it's very good.
I meant to say that it's very good. But yeah, I mean,
Not stripping anymore.
there we go. He's getting it up.
Sorry, just had to settle in.
The issue with this film is that it is trying to tell Pretty Woman as a love story, but it leaves little time for stripping during the runtime of the film, and then its priorities are just confused. Like I said, something that continues from the sequel is this final dance segment that is performed all live with little cuts. But the issue is that we see all the dancing backloaded and barely any dancing leading up because of this romance focus. So, when there is finally stripping showing up in the film, it is so mild and so tame in comparison, especially, it's so tame compared to the second Magic Mike. It just loses all appeal and reputation for fun. I think if there's a reputation for these films, it's like, hey, you're going to have a fun time.
100%.
Exactly. Bring the girls.
Grab the gals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun time. This film was the farthest from fun.
Yeah.
So what do we, again.
Such a shame with Steven Soderbergh, too.
Yeah.
It's just stuck in my head. It's like, wow, and this is Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's coming back to it's his franchise. Especially if he's
it's his.
working under aliases on the second one. It's definitely him.
Yeah.
That entertainment fun factor was the only scraps the second film hung on to, making it its entire identity. So this film losing what makes that, at all a film that you should maybe check out. It really begs the question why anyone is watching this at all. I hate to say it. We're going to go ahead and give Magic Mike Last Dance a 15.
Wow. I can't believe it. It is the fantastic. It just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
That's real. Okay, Soderbergh doesn't live in the 70s anymore. I guess, so.
That's what I said. We're going to know where he lives.
Wow. Okay. Very upsetting. Very upsetting.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Now, if writing has to do with some of it, it's the same one writer for all three.
Okay.
Like Soderbergh never wrote.
Okay.
Which he has in the past.
Well, then, a lot of blame on him. Who's the writer?
Reed Carolyn. which he does the Magic Mikes, and then he does Dog, and does White House
this is
Down.
one of Channing's boys, even. That makes me even have more questions, though, because Channing's clearly having fun in the first Magic Mike. He's having less fun in the second one. He's having no fun in this one.
I don't know. It's a shame. Yeah. It's a shame. It's number one of the weekend. Didn't do that great, but it wasn't in too many theaters either. I still think this is going to be like okay as far as box office, especially box office today goes.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. I mean, if there's any reputation, for fun for a girls' night,
it's gals' night.
Exactly,
it's a gals' night. Yep.
So it's going to bring in for the box office at least for that first.
At least
watch.
for a bit, yeah.
I don't think even a poor review, no less of 15 from me. Not that we have a lot.
15's really bad.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
This is very.
I love getting below 20s. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Looking at these scores. Okay, so by the way, just going back to last week, knock at the cabin door. Or knock at the cabin.
No, that's
messed it up so many times last week.
Knock at the cabin.
Knock at the cabin. Really not doing well.
Really?
It opened to number 1 last week, and it's not even in the top 5 now.
Wow.
You know it is in the top 2? So it goes Magic Mike.
Yep.
Made $8.3 million.
Yep.
Then Avatar: The Way of Water, 7.2. Okay. In third place was $6.7 million in the weekend.
Yep.
Was Titanic because the 25th anniversary.
Re-release, and what's the follow-up?
80 for Brady, and then Puss in Boots has been hanging on at number 5.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Avatar, like a Titanic, like a Cameron double feature.
Yeah, Avatar's 2.
Oh,
Avatar is 2. Titanic is 3. 80 for Brady is 4, and Puss in Boots is 5.
Wow.
And then 6 is Knock at the Cabin.
That's crazy.
Which is not good for Shyamalan. It's not boding well. I mean, sure, he'll be back in 2 years.
Right,
but
like
it's not good.
Yeah.
Okay, Vin. Looking at these films, do you have any notes or
watch
roll
Magic
credits?
Mike 1? I swear to God. I mean,
think so. I think
I'm telling you, McConaughey as a villain alone is why it's a watch.
Okay, now as a pure comedy, do you throw this on as a modern day comedy?
No, I would throw on the second one as a comedy, turn your brain off to, kind of thing. Yeah,
it kind of surprises me, but okay.
Yeah, but honestly, again, it's the first one. If you've watched Boogie Nights, you want something that's kind of looking at a dirty industry and how
every time you say that, PTA dies a little inside.
Oh, I bet he does. Oh, and that's why it's the poor man's. But I mean, believe me, I was so upset with Magic Mike Last Dance that I didn't do it, but I was almost tempted to watch Magic Mike 1 again.
Just to put a smile on your face. Say, where did it all go wrong?
For real.
I mean, how the mighty falls there. Okay, Vin, thank you so much for watching these films. Thanks for stopping by. Folks at home, we will run it down one more time. We have the Ziegfeld Follies with a 59%, The Breakfast Club with a 62%, Magic Mike with a 71%, Magic Mike XXL with a 26%, and Magic Mike's Last Dance with a 15%. Folks, we thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, could you give us a good rating or tell a friend about us? If you're wondering if a film is worth the watch, or if you'd just like to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com, where we have our ever-expanding catalog of films. Also, if you found value in the podcast or our site, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you received from us. We're looking to build this into something large and great, but also be independent from those corporate sponsors. So we greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.